Thank you for turning to page 121. Today I'm going to take a look at the World Builder's Handbook. This book just came out about 5 or 6 days ago. And I'm really excited. It's not the first traveler book called the World Builder's Handbook, but I'm geeking out. Now, I'm not going to pretend for a minute that I've read this entire thing cover to cover. It is a whopping 258 pages. I have basically thumbed through it and found some stuff that I'm excited about. And I thought I'd just share what basically was my thumb through on the book. I won't be going into a lot of depth on this. This is just a, hey, look what's out there. Hey, this is fun to buy. Sorry, but that's how I feel. Written by Gary Laneski. Let me get his name right. Laneskog. My apologies if I mispronounced either. And this was just published about a week ago. And it's out in PDF now. It'll be out in hardcover form in, I think, October or November of this year. But basically, we get an introduction which tells us, hey, you've seen this before. This was in Traveler Book 6, Scouts, in 1983. It was in Grand Survey and Grand Census from Digest Group Publications, and then compiled by DGP into the World Builder's Handbook, published for Mega Traveler by DGP in 89. So we have seen this before, but we haven't seen it like this. Essentially, the intro tells us science has moved along in the last 40 years. Theories and knowledge have grown, and this book is an attempt to reflect that, and I think it succeeds pretty well. I'm not going to pretend I read this entire thing, but I read some of it, and what I've read so far, I'm in love. Basically, if you are a world builder, world crafter, crunch kind of guy, this book is for you. There's a lot of crunch in this book. There's going to be a lot of math, but there's also some stuff that's pre-made for you. I showed this to my son, who's a computer programmer. I showed some of the math to him, and he laughed. He said, "I'm not going to sit here and do it for you, but I'll write your program for it." So it's pretty neat. There is some math, but it's not daunting. Now, I'm not a crunchy guy, as you know if you followed my channel. I'm not the guy that's building starships or new tanks or things like that, but I always have loved fooling around with the worlds. So I am going to be taking a look at this in further detail later on as I go through and read the book, really, really dial in on it. And I'm going to take a look at some of the stuff much closer, but that'll be in future videos and for my own personal consumption. The other interesting thing is here, they talk about the possibility of using a die 10. Traveler's a 2d6 based game, but here we have the die 10 emulation. Or they say if you want to use a die 10, roll a die 10. I thought that was kind of nice. Shows that they're not completely hidebound to the 2d6 or the d6 regimen, like a certain other game by a company whose initials are GW. Those guys are kind of locked into that 2d6 format, and there's not much they can do about it. Or d6 format, and there's not much they can do about it. So we get a nice look at expanded hex code for the Universal World Profile. They recommend materials and other resources. Rule 0, if you roll up something you don't like, re-roll it or ignore it. Put in what you want. Don't lose a whole planet over one bad roll. Now we get a nice look at the IISS, the Imperial Interstellar Scout Service. One of my favorite services in all of Traveler. I've always enjoyed the Scouts. Scouts are a fun one. If you want to die in character creation, just go ahead and roll up a Scout. So we get a nice look at the history of it, the organization. Nice little flow chart for them. Survey operations themselves. Nice artwork in this. Nice motion to the artwork in this. We get stars. We start with stars, star classification. We come through mass and temperature, diameter, luminosity. And this is just really exciting stuff. Here's some of the math coming in, luminosity formula. There's a lot of math in here if you want it. If you don't want it, you don't have to live by it. Again, I'm not a math guy, but I am going to sit and tinker around with some of this stuff because, frankly, I can throw away some of the math and just come up with my own system. I've always liked dialing in on the main world and doing some stuff on the main world, but I like having the option to do some stuff with other planetoids and things like that in the same system. Oh, one other quick thing. Governments aren't really covered much in here. There's some, and there's no kind of real political look or no kind of religious look. There are plenty of traveler supplements out there that cover those, but they haven't been covered yet, and they refer to the possibility they'd be covered in the future in a different supplement. So continue our look at the stars, systems with multiple stars, the number of stars, and then default star formation designation. So if I don't want to sit there with all the math, I can just go to some of this stuff. So just some nice stuff in here. I'm geeking out about this book. I've been geeking out about it all weekend. I spent a lot of time with this book and still haven't scratched the surface of what you can do with this. But this took me back to the late 80s and the World Builder's Handbook from DGP and all the fun stuff you could do with that. And I have many wonderful hours just sitting over that with that book and a piece of paper and a pencil. You get some nice charts here. I can't turn it because my tablet will correct it, but you get some nice sector survey charts. And then we have some sample systems. The Z system is a ridiculously overcomplicated system because they want to show you what ridiculous overcomplicated is. And it gives you a nice baseline there. Then we look at Corella is the other system. And then we take a look at the Terra Sol system. So Terra Sol, we get a nice baseline system. We get a good look at Terra and the Sol system in Traveler, how it would come out in this book. And that gives everything as a nice baseline so you can extrapolate from that. It's like I said, if you don't want to sit there doing the math, you don't have to. System worlds and orbits. Okay, now we're down to worlds. And again, just anything you want. Gas giants, of course, are really important in Traveler. How many are there? Our solar system has 3. So the Sol system, so that's pretty cool. Some don't have any. Then you got to find that planet that's got some water you can crack for the hydrogen, or you've got to find that comet you can crack hydrogen from. I love Traveler. So continuing on with the worlds, lots of good stuff in here. And there we go. Here's the Sol system, our orbital plan, where our orbits are. And again, by having Sol in here, you've got Z, which is this ridiculously over-the-top, overdone thing that as a DM you might want to zero in on, for one system you really love. And then you've got Corella, which is just kind of an average one. And then you've got Terra in Sol, which gives us a nice base. I thought that was a really good choice. So you got to look at any kind of moons that your system has, which body they orbit, the main world candidate, and then how the IISS goes about designating the main world. A nice survey sheet. Even in this day and age of everything at your fingertips on a computer, I'm a geek for these different forms that pop up in books like this. And then we go some more samples of planets. There's the Z system, as I said. And now we go to Corella with Corella's overview, and then Terra in Sol. And then world physical characteristics, the size, the diameter, composition and density, which of course affects gravity and mass. Planetoid belt characteristics. There is a lot of stuff in the older stuff on planetoid belts in Traveler. I haven't seen a ton in Mongoose Traveler 2nd about belts. Maybe I'm just missing it. I don't know, but I know there's an adventure or two that deal with it, and some stuff in a lot of the books, but nothing really devoted toward it. If I'm wrong, please throw a comment below. Let me know, because I'm going to find it and I'll read up on it. Characteristics of significant moons and rings. Moon orbit determination, because of course the moon on Earth, it determines our tides and things like that. The atmosphere, big important part of Traveler that wasn't covered real well back in the day, except for a great supplement out of JTAS number 17. Atmospheres really weren't covered a ton. It was just corrosive, must wear a protective suit, can only be out 20 minutes. That was all the information we had. Now we have a lot more. Runaway greenhouse effect. And that's where the science has advanced in 40 years. We know a lot more about biospheres and things like that than we did 40 years ago when a lot of this stuff was published. and goes on to the taints in the atmosphere, what kind of profile it would give you. Is it, just the garbage in the air from wildfires like Chicago's been dealing with for the last few weeks? Or is it, permanent industrial pollution? Or is it a natural thing? Are there spores in the air that you become allergic to and infect your lungs? A lot of different things you can have. Again, I like the artwork. Here's a guy doing something not nice to a guy out in some type of tainted atmosphere anyway, ripping off his mask. That guy's going to have a problem in a couple of seconds. So we're continuing on with the atmosphere. Non-habitable zone atmospheres. You can still have an atmosphere on a planet, or you can still be non-habitable. Hot, cold, gas mix tables, just all kinds. Sorry, I was just geeking out. I every time I page through this, I found new stuff I want to read up on, and I get excited about it all over again. Hydrographics, very, very important. Can play a big role in your traveler game. Defining a continent. Exotic liquids, rotation period and length. That can be a huge determiner for your planets. Surface tidal effects, as I talked about with the moon. Let's see. Greenhouse factors, temperatures, and MORN. I forget. MORN is mean temperature. I forget what the anagram stands for. High and low temps, axial tilt, all kinds of stuff. I first learned about axial tilt reading some stuff on Traveler back in the very early 80s. I was aware of axial tilt a little bit through school, but I really did not come to understand it until I studied it up for Traveler. Big factor in your planet's weather. And calculating sunlight portion and hours. So you can figure out how long each continent gets sunlight per day, per season, if you want. You can really dial this in. So if there's a main world that your characters are from or very important to, or the planet's very important to them, this is a great way to really dial in and really bring that world to life in the physical sense. And then, of course, there's plenty of other stuff to bring the people alive and the religions and government things. Seismology, also hugely important. High and Dry, I believe. Yeah, the adventure High and Dry has an active volcano as one of the obstacles you have to deal with to retrieve your scout ship. I covered that not too long ago. Just a recap of the module, the adventure as my players went through it. It's a good little adventure. It's a great starting adventure, by the way. High and Dry. Mongoose has it in for Mongoose Second, written by Martin Doherty. Then we get the animals, the creatures that live there, the flora and the fauna, biodiversity rating, compatibility rating, resource rating. Vland, one of the famous things about Vland is they really can't metabolize a lot of the plant life on Vland or the animals. They have to have special enzymes, or it has to be prepared in a very special way in order to metabolize the food. Habitability rating, main world mapping. You get the nice blank map. This took me back to some of the old supplements from the early 80s. And then we get the class 2 or class 4 survey from the IISS. And then we get our examples. Zed, and then Corella, and then Terra in Sol. World social characteristics. So we do get some stuff on the society, but it's good. You get a lot of this is the same stuff that's in the core rulebook, none of which I'm knocking. It goes into some more detail. I like that. I'm not one to let tables necessarily dictate my world population, but that being said, I'll throw on tables to get inspiration. So I kind of mix the two, but I don't let the dice dictate something as important as the society of the planet. Balkanization. Balkanization is an adventurer's friend. That's where you have multiple governments operating the planet, no one unified world government. And continuing on for government profiles. There's some nice stuff in here. It's really good. The law level, it's a lot of this is just expanded out of the core rulebook, but it's very consistent with the core rulebook. You get a nice cleaner look. As I said, I did not read a ton of this section. There's the economic law, penalties for breaking the laws, smuggling and such. I did not read a ton of this section because I was honestly geeking out about the physical planet. So I'm going to go back in and I'll dial in on this. So I may have to eat my words a little bit about some of the stuff in here as far as how complete it is, because actually this is my third time paging through this and I'm seeing it's a lot more complete than I was giving it credit for. Secondary world law levels, the technology of the planet, all incredibly important, and you can build all that out of here. Military tech, secondary world tech levels, because not everybody lives at the same tech level, just as in our real world. Different tech levels for different parts of the planet. Cultural summary. And then various trade, labor factions, all kinds of stuff you can build and build and build out of this book. You could work with this book for years. Starports, gotta love starports. Nice look at them. Starport traffic patterns. The military. System defense. You know, do you have a navy? Do you have bases? Are you part of the Imperium? Are you not in the Imperium? It is whatever you want it to be. The travel zones, the green zone, amber zone, and red zones, all clearly defined. Green zone is it's safe to go to. Amber zone is there's caution for some reason. Might be a dictatorship or just a high law level planet, or there could be a taint in the atmosphere. And then a red zone is it's interdicted for some reason. It could be societal, where they're just very xenophobic. They don't want anybody else there. Or it could be that there's an actual danger on the planet. And going to the ISS, and then some more survey sheets. It's so cool. I love this stuff. And then we get Corella again, and then Terra, and then we get special circumstances. They talk about empty hexes and how difficult that can be to deal with. Probabilities of finding anything you can use to refuel in an empty hex. Jumping to empty hexes and the problems that can represent. Protostar systems. Brown dwarfs. Dead stars, neutron stars, all kinds of stuff. Black holes. Nebulae. Okay. Star clusters. Artificial worlds. We get our first look at any kind of real artificial worlds that I've seen in Mongoose Second. I've seen a mention here and there, but this is pretty exciting to read up on. And we get ring world. A small ring world would start at tech level 26, with a ring world starting at 27, a small Dyson sphere at tech level 28, and a Dyson sphere at tech level 29. So there you have it. I'm a big fan of the old Ringworld novel by Larry Niven. I love the idea of a Dyson sphere. I think they're cool. O'Neill cylinders are neat also. I don't think they're called out in here. Just some nice stuff. So much to work with the imagination. We get a nice look at some equipment, some tools to do your survey. Also in keeping with the original product from '89. I love that. I love specific tools for a task. We get some software, and we get some spacecraft. And then we get a nice glossary. This is really handy, actually. I tested this a little bit and went back and forth with stuff just to really enjoy the glossary. I'm a geek that way. I like good glossary. I love a good checklist for any kind of creation. So if you need it, here it is. And then coming up to all the checklists for all the various procedures in the book, and then designer notes and a great index, and then we're on the back cover. So excellent piece of work in my opinion. Absolutely thrilled to have it in my library. This is one I'm going to really enjoy poring over. This is just a quick overview. Again, I'm not pretending that I've read the whole thing, but I hope you like to look at it. I love this book, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time with it. I recommend it highly for your library. That's all I've got to say today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you heard this off, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.